Hello, welcome to Run My Art. Recently I got a box of Caran dry pastel pencils. So basically this video includes the unboxing process and swatching colors of these dry pastel pencils, and I will be sharing some tips on how to use these dry pastel pencils and comparing it against soft pastels. So I have been using soft pastels for about 7 months or more, and while I was working with soft pastels, I realized that I might have to invest in some dry pastel pencils or pastel pencils, simply because when it comes to working on fine details, it is a bit challenging to use soft pastels, and pastel pencils could be a solution to that. So basically this box contains 12 pastel pencils, and over here is a basic description of the product. It has a 4.7 millimeter lead and a strong point, and the casing of the pencil is of hexagonal shape to avoid risk of rolling off from your hands when you work, and it is made of premium FSC certified cedar wood. This product is Swiss made and its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. So they also offer this product in the form of cubes, but the more famous one is the pencil series. And the pencil series comes in 4 different assortments, whereby the lowest quantity is 12, the one that I am showing over here in this video, followed by 20s, 40s and 76 being the highest. And all of this comes in a very hard covered cardboard box, and they also offer a premium wood box. And according to the pamphlet, they have mentioned that they have a range of 168 dry pastels. Other info includes the surfaces that is advisable to use the pastel on, and it's also advisable to sharpen the pastel using a blade and then finishing it with a medium grain sandpaper. So in other words, we are supposed to avoid a typical sharpener at any cost, and I have a feeling it's simply because of the nature of the casing, which is made of a fine cedar wood, as well as the pigment of the pastel. So if you use a normal sharpener, it might be prone to crack considering the size of its core. However, I did find out that they have a custom made sharpener, but I think I'll skip that for now. And there were also 2 pieces of sheer sheet of paper which resembles a glassine paper included in this box, and it has been imprinted with a basic info on their brand, and I personally feel it acts as a glassine paper where you can use them, cover some areas of your drawing and work on the other part so that you don't smudge your drawing. And while I'm showing this, I realized that the hexagonal shape of this pencil case is non-slip and feels comfy to hold. And here, just to compare some basic imprinted info on the case, apart from the color description and color code, there is also a label of stars which indicates the darkness of each color. In other words, light fastness, just like any other medium that you work on, like watercolor. So let's move on to the color swatching process. I have labeled here all the names and color codes, as well as the light fastness, which is the star labels, and they range between 3 to 5 star, mostly rated as 5 star. Starting off with white pastel, of course you can't be seeing the color over here, so I'll skip the recording. And if you'd like to skip this entire color swatch process, you may do so. I've listed down the timestamps. So I was testing out this pastel by having some variations, which is trying to color them diagonally, making a sphere as well as some curve and straight line. And over here, while I was using this orange colored pastel, I noticed that it has already chipped. So I have to sharpen it to get to the core part of the pigment, and just included in the recording just to show how the sharpening with the blade process works. So at the beginning I was a bit hesitant, as I thought I might be too harsh with the sharpening process, but along the process I realized that the cedar wood is quite soft and easy to shave off using this typical blade. Though it felt odd in the beginning because I haven't been shaving any pencils in the last so many years, and I am using the sandpaper to shape the tip of the pencil, the core. You can adjust the length of the core that you wish to work on, probably a bit longer, but I thought I'll just maintain a shorter core. Moving on to the next color, which is red, bright red or scarlet according to their color label. And bear in mind that these color codes are important as any other mediums like watercolor, acrylic, oils, because it will be easier to get them or purchase them individually in the stores or online stores according to the exact color that you wanted. Next is black, and I noticed that this black color is very much close to the deep phthalo-cyan green, and this is the reason you need this color code, so that you don't wrongly grab the colors that look similar to each other. Almost done with the color swatch, and the last color is desert rose. And right now, just to test the white pigment, since the paper is already white, so I am layering here some black and drawing in the white pastel on it, just to show how thick or visible is the white color. So using the pastel pencils, I am going to demonstrate how to draw a typical yellow lemon. And the paper that I am using for this sketch is of 180 grams per square meter, and we can use any sort of sketch paper, especially those that are pastel friendly, but in this case, since it's a pastel pencil, you can just use a normal sketch paper that would do. So over here I have drew the basic shape of the lemon using the golden yellow as the first color, as well as colored in as the dominant color, followed by the orange on the sides, and I'm just using my fingers lightly to blend them. More colors layering, and this time with some white to create some highlights. And as I work on this drawing, I must say it's smooth. It's not a very difficult core to work with. The color glides in quite fast and easy, but of course it is not as smooth as soft pastel, because this is still dry pastel. And I also believe you can't get soft pastels in a form of pencil, simply because by the nature of the soft pastel itself, they are quite soft. I don't think it can be placed in a casing, and could be quite fragile to work on if it's in the form of pencil. Moving on with the drawing of the leaf, and at this point of time I've decided to use a Q-tip just to see how the blending process feels like. I'm also layering in more yellow to create the highlights on the leaf. More colors for the leaf just to give it more extra character, and once again blending with the Q-tip. I must say the blending using the Q-tip is quite successful, as it really softens the look of my sketch and it doesn't lift out any pigment from the paper. And the reason I am mentioning it here, because if you notice in my soft pastel videos, I would have mentioned that a Q-tip could actually lift out some pigment from soft pastel medium, and most of the time I am more comfortable using finger to blend in the soft pastel pigment. Right now I am using the burnt sienna to create some darker areas or darker shade on the lemon. And as I draw, you can notice that the burnt sienna color is quite dark against the lemon's yellow color, and this shows that light fastness of this color is of very high quality. Hence the star label is 5 for this particular color. Putting in some details on the skin of the lemon. And once again a light blend with the Q-tip. You can find other blending tools as well. So I'm just finishing off this drawing by reshaping the outline of the lemon, and this is why I prefer to use a pastel pencil. Given the nature of the hard pastel, which is sharp and hard in consistency, so it's much easier to use this pastel pencil to draw the fine details on your drawing, as opposed to a soft pastel where you would struggle a bit to draw all the fine lines. So now I am going to duplicate the exact lemon drawing using a soft pastel, just to show you the differences in color variation and the texture of the pastel. So looking at the shape and size of the soft pastel itself, you can notice that you can struggle a bit to do the basic sketch unless you're making a very large drawing. However, the soft pastel glides in much more faster and there's more pigment that sticks to the paper. You can notice it stained my finger, and as I blend in, you can see within seconds the yellow has been completely painted, or in other words, effortlessly has been painted onto the paper. And I'm also pretty confident, since the soft pastel colors are quite strong or bright, you wouldn't need too much of layering to do. Over here I'm showing you the blending process for soft pastel using the Q-tip, and you can notice that more pigment is being lifted up, which is why I mentioned earlier in this video I prefer to just use my finger for the blending process when I use soft pastels. More colors for some variation in shades and light areas. I am trying my best to use a similar color that I used for the first lemon, even though they are completely two different set of colors. So obviously the outcome is not going to be the exact twin or duplicate of the first lemon, and the ultimate point here is just to show you what is the differences in the drawing process using a soft pastel versus a dry pastel pencil. Just to note, I am using white here for the highlights of this lemon. You can hardly see them because the size of the white pastel is quite small, just in case you're wondering. Similar details for the skin texture of the lemon. And we are done with this lemon sketch. So which one is your favorite? You can let me know in the comments below. Well, I like both of them given the nature of the medium that I used to paint them. And right now I am going to demonstrate to you how to use this dry pastel pencil of Caran to enhance the look of my soft pastel lemon, especially the outline of the lemon's shape. So notice the smudged outline of the soft pastel drawing can be enhanced using these dry pastel pencils, and as well as creating some more finer details, for example the highlights and shadow areas. And I am glad to say this is what I wanted to achieve with my pastel drawings, because in the last 7 months I was struggling a lot to make finer details and fine lines using a soft pastel. So the dry pastel pencils definitely has provided me this solution. And a quick look on how to use the glassine paper to cover up your painting while you work on them. And here's some bonus tips which I thought could be helpful in showing the differences between a soft pastel and a dry pastel pencil. And first one is the dry pastel pencil. You can see as I blend in, that's the most distant the pigment moves. And the best way to blend in the dry pastel would definitely be using a blending tool, for example a Q-tip. Now soft pastel, similar method. I'm just doing a rough sketch and blend in, and the moment I touch the pigment, you can see it stained my finger. And I'm going to use the Q-tip to blend in further, and as I start blending in, you can notice there's more pigment being lifted up. There's just way too much pigment on the Q-tip. As opposed to a dry pastel, you can notice very light pigment traces on the Q-tip, which is why it's advisable to just use your finger when you blend in the soft pastel. And as I drag in the pigment, you can see it moves way further on the paper as opposed to the dry pastel, which is a bit limited. So the light fastness on the soft pastel pigment is way much higher compared to dry pastel. So to conclude, the dry pastel pencils, which means in the form of pencil, is much more suitable to be worked on smaller area of work and to create finer details. whereas the soft pastel is more generous, so you can work on a larger area of drawing or painting. And the blending process is much easier on a soft pastel given the nature of its soft pigment, and you don't really need a blending tool, whereas for the dry pastel you still need a blending tool. And of course the soft pastel contains more pigment, so you don't need to make a lot of color layering, whereas the dry pastel you might have to create more layers of colors in order to achieve a darker outcome. Lastly, not to forget, both medium requires a fixative to seal the painting, otherwise you're going to smudge and damage your paintings. You can find the fixatives offered by any art brands. For example, Caran has their own fixative spray as well as Sennelier. So I hope today's video was informative enough, and if you have any doubts, do drop me your questions under the comment section. And if you really appreciate my content, then don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. So see you again on my channel, and thanks again for watching. Bye.